What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Swoop Luke. This is going to be the debrief episode of last night's game against Richmond, and what a game it was. 44-point winners, but let's talk about that later. For now, let's play the intro. So last night, well, not the 85,000 that I predicted, but the 70,000 plus that were there were treated to a Collingwood masterclass and a nice 44-point win against Richmond. We dominated for most of that game, didn't make the most out of it unfortunately, but we made up for it in the second half. But 2 wins on the trot against Richmond is such a great feeling. So as I mentioned before, Collingwood dominated the entire game. We finished with 19 more inside 50s, 164 more disposals, 27 more tackles, and 89 more uncontested marks. So for winning those stats against a team like Richmond, it just goes to show how well we actually played yesterday. There were 6 or 7 Richmond players last night that didn't even lay a tackle, one of them being Dustin Martin. So the first half was a bit how's it going, a bit of a seesaw. At the end of the first quarter, we only led by a goal, and right before the main break, we also only led by a goal. Thanks in part to a classic Collingwood fade out in red time and Richmond kicking 3 goals on the trot. For the majority of the game, well really most of the game, Collingwood were really content to chip it around, hitting targets and switching the ball when they can, which unlike the Geelong game, where they were just playing down the corridor, they were starting to think a little bit more laterally, starting to hit the kicks that were on the angles instead of what was coming straight down the ground for them. This opened up the play, and even when they were switching, it was spreading Richmond's press wide enough that Richmond weren't defending in packs. They had to defend pretty much one-on-one, which helped us dominate the ball. In saying that, the first half did feel like last week's game against Geelong, where we had all the dominance, but we just couldn't put the scoreboard pressure on, and you just felt like Richmond were going to claw their way back, either in the third or the fourth quarter, but thankfully they didn't. So the game was won and lost in the midfield, and like I said in my previous video, it's obvious that the midfield is going to either win you games or lose you games. But out of the top 7 players with the most disposals on the game, 6 of them were Collingwood players, and only one of them was a Richmond player, and that was Alice, who had just come into the team this week. Treloar finished with 39, Beams with 36, and you could just tell that the midfield is just starting to click a little bit well with each other. One of the key matchups in my last video was Greenwood and Martin. Greenwood nullified any influence Martin had on this game. Martin finished with 19 disposals and didn't even kick a goal, even though we know that he pushed forward to give Richmond an option, which is what he does for most games. So it was very good having Greenwood back, and you think, could things have been different last week? He had played, if he had gone on to a Selwood or someone like that, sure they could have been different, but no point crying over spilt milk, just clean it up and you go again. But of course, to win games you need to kick goals. And wow, Jordan De Goey, 5 goals. My big call was that he was going to kick 4. You're not going to believe me if I say I wanted to say 5, but I did want to say 5. But he kicked 5 and they were just really good goals, you know. You can see why clubs wanted to pay him over $1 million a season to come and play with them. He's going to dominate this year like he did last year. One was Jordan De Goey's screamer in the second quarter and the snap from the boundary line to top it all off. Perfect footballer, such a great goal, such a great mark. In the last quarter, to get the ball rolling, Cox was selling so much candy to a pack of tigers, then snapped it around his body and kicked a goal to get the quarter started. And my last highlight isn't just really one set play, it was the way the backline was working, in particular Darcy Moore. I said in a video previous that Darcy Moore was going to be that guy that was going to play that intercepting mark role. He was intercepting him like nobody's business last night, just like he did in round 1. Played a really good game, and you can see that we missed that aspect of him last year so much. And although we're over it now, right, the 2018 grand final definitely could have used him, but no point crying over spilt milk. So I want to start doing like a voting thing, like top 3, who are my best players of the game. Didn't do it last week, but I'm going to vote for last week now. 1 vote to Elliot for last week's performance, 3 goals. 2 to Moore, I just talked about him. And 3 to Treloar, who racked up a number over 35 disposals last week. So this week, 1 vote goes to Maine. The best game I've seen him play in black and white. You can tell he's playing for the club, but he's playing for the black and white jumper, which we love to see. 33 disposals and 1 great goal. 2 votes to Treloar. Was in the thick of the action for most of the game. He finished with 39 disposals and a best on ground performance of 7 tackles. And 3 votes, of course, can't go past Jordan De Goey. 5 goals, massive screamer, turned the game on its head, and you can see what he's going to be capable of in the forward 50. So Collingwood play West Coast next Saturday night at the MCG, grand final rematch. Hopefully we can put in the same performance that we did in last night's game, but hopefully we get the scoreboard pressure on, the boys come out firing, and it's going to be a great game. I also saw that Cox got suspended for 1 week for standing his ground, Grimes hitting him and falling to the floor like he'd just been hit by a bag of feathers. Hopefully Collingwood will appeal that, because how he got suspended for that, I don't know. And Grimes intentionally threw up an elbow, hit Elliot, and he gets 1 week as well. That's just crazy to me. On a more somber note, Lyndon Dunn doing his ACL again. So sad. Heart goes out to him. Looks like the nicest dude, so hopefully you come back stronger. That's it from me now. Like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever you need to do. See you in the next video. Swoop you later.